Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the new session of Biology Standard 11th. Today, we'll start a new topic from Standard 11th, that is, Chapter 10 Animal Tissue. Now, before starting the topic, let's start with introduction. You know about cells. Cells are the basic, or you can say the structural and functional unit of life. When different cells combine together, they form tissues. What are tissues? Tissues are nothing but group of cells having same embryonic origin, structure and function. When different tissues they combine together, they form organs. So organs are tissue combined together in an orderly manner. When different organs they combine together, they form organ system. And when different organ systems combine together, they form a body. So your body is basically formed by cell, but that cell has changed into tissues, then organs, then organ system, and then your body is formed. Now, talking about cells, there are two types of cells in our body. They are somatic cells and germ cells. What are somatic cells? Somatic cells are all body cells except sperm and ova, because your soma is related to body. Soma means body. So somatic cells are nothing but they are body cells except sperms and ova. Then second one is your germ cells. So what is germ cell? That means the cell that belong to reproductive system are called germ cells. It includes sperm and ova. Now let's study the details. We'll study first about histology. The question arises, what is histology? Answer is the study of the structure and arrangement of tissue is called histology. Actually, there are four different types of tissues present in animals, and all these four tissues are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. Let's start with the details of epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue forms the covering on inner and outer surface of body and organs. The cells of this tissue are compactly arranged with little intercellular matrix. If I say intercellular, that means the space between two cells. Inter means in between. Cellular means cells. So here you will find the cells of this tissue are very compact and they form a very little intercellular space or matrix. These cells rest on non-cellular basement membrane. Now these cells of epithelial tissue, they are polygonal, cuboidal or columnar in shape, and single nucleus is present at the center or at the base depending upon the shape. This tissue is avascular. If I say the word avascular, that means it does not contain vascular system. That means blood vessels are not present. And it has good capacity of regeneration. Regeneration means ability to get reformed. Now, functions of epithelial tissue. There are different functions of epithelial tissues. First one is protection, then absorption, transport, filtration, and secretion. Epithelial tissue is classified into two types. They are simple epithelial tissue and compound epithelial tissue. If I say simple epithelial tissue, that means they are made up of single layer of cells. If I say compound tissue, that means they are made up of two or more layer of cells. And among this, the lowermost layer rests on basement membrane. Now let's start with simple epithelial tissue. Let's see the details first. Simple epithelial tissue consists of different types of tissues. In that, first one is squamous epithelial tissue. Then you have cuboidal epithelial tissue. Then columnar epithelial tissue, ciliated epithelial tissue, glandular epithelial tissue, sensory epithelial tissue, and germinal epithelial tissue. Today we'll only study about simple epithelial tissues. So let's start with the first one. The first simple epithelial tissue is squamous epithelial tissue. Cells of this tissue are flat, thin, polygonal with serrated margin. If I say the word serrated, that means wavy. It is not straight. And they fit together like tiles of footpath. Hence, we call it as pavement epithelium. It contains prominent spherical or oval nucleus at the center of the cell, and it is found in blood vessels, alveoli, etc. Functions of this tissue are protection, absorption, transport, filtration, and secretion. Second tissue is cuboidal epithelial tissue. In this tissue, the cells are cuboidal in shape. It has a spherical nucleus which is present at the center of the cell. It is found in lining of pancreatic duct, salivary duct, proximal and distal convoluted tubules of nephron. Functions are absorption and secretion. Next one is columnar epithelial tissue. Columnar epithelial cells are tall, pillar-like. Inner end of this cell are narrow, while free ends are broad and flat. Free surface shows a large number of microvilli. Nucleus is oval in shape and it is present in the lower half of the cell. It is found in inner lining of intestine, gallbladder, gastric glands, intestinal glands, etc. Functions are secretion and absorption. Next tissue is ciliated epithelial tissue. Cells of this tissue are cuboidal or columnar. Free ends of cells are broad, while the narrow ends rest on basement membrane. Free ends show hair-like cilia. Nucleus is oval in shape and nucleus is placed at basal end of cell. It is found in nasal cavity, trachea, oviduct, etc. Function is movement. That means it helps to create a movement of materials in contact in a specific direction, and thus they are able to prevent the entry of foreign particles in trachea. If we talk about trachea, then if we talk about oviduct, it pushes the ovum through oviduct. The next one is glandular epithelial tissue. The cells may be columnar, cuboidal, or pyramidal in shape. Nucleus is large and situated towards the base. Secretory granules are present in the cytoplasm. Glands may be either unicellular or multicellular depending on number of cells. If they are unicellular, then the best example is goblet cells of intestine. If they are multicellular, then best example is salivary glands. Now, depending on mode of secretion, the multicellular glands are classified as duct-bearing glands, that is exocrine glands, or ductless glands, that is endocrine glands. If we say exocrine glands, then we know they have a duct, that is connection. So they pour their secretion at the specific site. For example, you have salivary glands, sweat glands, etc. Then if we say endocrine gland, then we know that duct is absent. So what they do is they release their secretions directly into the bloodstream. For example, thyroid gland, pituitary gland, pineal gland, etc. There are many glands present in our body. Function is only one, that is secretion. That means what they do, they secrete the mucus that traps the dust particles, lubricates the inner surface of respiratory and digestive tracts. They also help in secretion of enzymes and hormones. Then next one is sensory epithelial tissue. It is composed of a modified form of columnar cells, and it has elongated neurosecretory cells. Sensory hairs are present at the free end of the cells. These are found in nose, that is olfactory, ear, that is auditory hair cells, and eye, that is photoreceptors. And function is perception. That means it perceives external as well as internal stimuli. And last one is germinal epithelial tissue. Cells of this epithelium divide meiotically to produce haploid gametes. That means the main function of germinal tissue is to divide and redivide. For example, lining of seminiferous tubules and inner lining of ovary, and their function is only one, that is, you can say division or multiplication. So we'll stop here. Let's see a quick summary what we studied today. We studied the introduction for animal tissues. Then we studied about the types of tissues. In that we started with epithelial tissue. In epithelial tissue, we started with first one, that is simple epithelial tissue. In that we studied about squamous epithelial tissue, cuboidal epithelial tissue, columnar epithelial tissue, ciliated epithelial tissue, glandular epithelial tissue, sensory epithelial tissue, and germinal epithelial tissue. I hope you understood the topic. We'll stop here and we'll continue in the next video. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Thank you.